There was a time when Prince Harry could walk into any room and command attention. People leaned in, cameras lit up, headlines followed. He wasn't just a prince, he was the prince, the rebellious royal who broke tradition, but somehow made people love him more for it. Charming, cheeky, likable. But 2025 tells a very different story. Those days feel like another lifetime. Today, Harry isn't just out of the spotlight. He's being actively ignored by the very circles that once celebrated his every move. And insiders say Meghan can feel it too. It's shocking how quickly the glow faded. The same Hollywood elites who once clamored for selfies with the Sussexes are now cutting them loose. Invitations are drying up. Event organizers aren't calling. Even the tabloids, once obsessed with every Sussex maneuver, have grown quiet. Silence. No scathing attacks, no glowing praise, just that crushing absence of relevance. In show business, indifference can feel harsher than hate. Publicists are reportedly advising clients to steer clear. Why? Because being seen with Harry means headlines, and not the flattering kind. There's a fear that even a casual dinner party conversation might show up in a book, a podcast, or a documentary. That's the reputation Harry has earned. Instead of coming off as candid, it makes him look like a liability. Behind doors, the rejection is worse. A veteran producer privately referred to him as the exiled royal who won't stop talking. Another source said flatly, he had a shot. He blew it. What makes this sting is that many of these voices aren't his critics. These are the same people who once praised him online, bragged about being close to royalty, and framed him as a refreshing new force in his charity work. But they've moved on. And here's where things take a darker turn. Meghan is not sitting gracefully through the decline. According to sources, Meghan is furious. Furious that the empire she envisioned, the podcasts, the documentaries, the media deals that were supposed to cement their names as power players, is slipping away. Furious that the man she gave up everything for is no longer commanding respect. Some insiders whisper that Meghan's frustration is no longer just about the brand. It's about Harry himself. She has always been about building, controlling, strategizing optics. Now, with the Sussexes losing oxygen in the media world, Meghan appears to be pivoting again, but not necessarily with Harry in the frame. Is she building alliances without him? Networking on solo projects? Testing out a new narrative that doesn't depend on being half of Harry and Meghan? Whether the more salacious rumors of a new man are true or not hardly matters, because perception rules. And Meghan's public behavior, meetings alone, polished appearances without him, is sending its own message. Those close to Harry say he sees it. The rejection, Meghan's pivot, the awkward distance. They describe a man who suddenly doesn't know his footing anymore. He still tries. He shows up smiling, posts the occasional positive update, delivers practiced words about service. But the energy feels different, less assured, more nervous. Because when applause stops, even the most charismatic public figures look a little smaller. Some in his circle claim he's even floated the idea of returning to the UK for longer stretches, not to live permanently, but to reset, to remind people he still exists beyond Montecito press releases. But even that plan, insiders whisper, might not be Harry's idea. Some suggest it's Meghan pulling strings in the background, using Harry, sending him into the spotlight just long enough to boost the Sussex brand while she maneuvers her next act from a safe distance. And that is exactly what brings us to Harry's most recent UK visit. Because this trip did not look casual. It looked calculated. And many believe it wasn't Harry coordinating it at all. It was Meghan playing the invisible hand. Harry's re-entry into the UK spotlight came with an urgency you could see on his face. He wasn't strolling down memory lane. He wasn't nostalgic. Every glance at the camera, every step into an event screamed calculation. This was about survival. Multiple insiders claim Meghan personally choreographed the trip. Everything from which events Harry attended, to who he was photographed with, to which soundbites he would deliver. The entire itinerary looked more like a branding exercise than a family reunion. For Meghan, the mission was to prove the Sussex name still mattered. That Harry could still pull crowds and cameras, even without her standing beside him. But the optics didn't land as planned. According to royal aides, Harry was treated less like a family member and more like a visiting guest speaker. Courteous, polite, but distant, like they were indulging him out of obligation. Even among old friends, the atmosphere was icy. The days of joking around at polo matches and bonding over late-night parties seemed over. Many old companions reportedly skipped entirely. The few who did show kept talks superficial. No one wanted a stray comment to end up in the next Netflix doc. Harry still gave speeches, still posed for photos, still smiled on stage. But eagle-eyed reporters noticed something different. The delivery felt artificial, filtered. As one royal correspondent tweeted, Harry looks like a man auditioning for a role he used to own. The British press pounced. Headlines asked, is Harry just Meghan's puppet? Even outlets once sympathetic started turning, dissecting every strained smile, every handshake, as proof he was no longer in control of himself. And Meghan? She wasn't even there. But cameras caught her in California just hours later, sipping coffee with a Hollywood executive, smiling comfortably, dropping cryptic hints about new beginnings. To royal commentators, it was textbook optics management. Let Harry burn in London, while Meghan positioned herself for a fresh, standalone pivot. Some analysts framed the UK visit as Meghan's stress test. Could Harry reassert relevance without her at his side? If he thrived, perhaps the duo narrative could survive. If he floundered, Meghan had the excuse to begin building distance. And the verdict among the press was brutal. Instead of proving Harry's relevance, the trip only highlighted how far his star had fallen. Once magnetic, now awkward. Once beloved, now tolerated. Even within the royal fold, the frost was unmistakable. King Charles kept his meeting short. William kept his schedule separate. Queen Camilla avoided solo photos with Harry altogether. Their message was clear. Whatever the brand reboot was attempting, the monarchy wasn't playing along. Pity behind palace walls. Whispers coming from palace corridors suggest there is now pity, not anger. Harry is seen less as the disruptive rebel who broke free, and more as the cautionary tale, the prince who traded legacy for chaos. The man who walked away from duty only to discover freedom without purpose can be just as suffocating. And if there was still doubt about how much things have shifted, the final act came not in London, but back in California, where the divide between Harry and Meghan widened even further. Harry returned home to Montecito subdued. No tarmac hugs. No triumphant photos. Just grainy long-lens shots of him slipping back into the estate, head lowered. Meghan, notably, was nowhere near the gate. Whispers from those close to the couple say they are intentionally spending less time together lately. Separate meetings. Solo events. Rarely photographed in the same space. It's a tactic sources call deliberate distance. Meghan, according to Hollywood insiders, has been hell-bent on salvaging her personal brand. High-level talks with producers. Strategic red carpet appearances. Carefully curated social media drops. Everything signaling a repositioning, less duchess, more mogul. Less royal baggage, more self-made survivor. And Harry? He increasingly isn't part of that picture. A Netflix insider reportedly phrased it plainly. The duo angle doesn't sell anymore. Meghan solo, that's the investment. Executives know Meghan sells stories, her ambition, her resilience, her fight against institutions. Harry, on the other hand, brings liability. The memoir backlash. The lawsuits. The declining charm. And crucially, the perception that without Meghan, he's aimless. So Meghan appears to be carving sharper independence. She doesn't want to be tethered to the Sussex brand. She wants to be the brand. That leaves Harry stranded. Not royal enough for the monarchy. Not compelling enough for Hollywood. Not scandalous enough to fuel gossip anymore. Floating between worlds with no anchor. Friends say he spends more time alone, surfing, cycling, walking dogs. Activities that sound ordinary, but symbolize how his orbit has shrunk. Invitations are limited. Photographers don't swarm like they used to. Comment sections once loaded with cheers now tilt toward pity. Why does he look so sad? Where's Meghan? Is she replacing him? Rumors swirl that Meghan has rekindled ties with powerful financiers she's worked with before. Business alliances? Likely. Romantic? No evidence. But optics are everything, and images of Meghan networking seamlessly while Harry looks increasingly isolated only feed the narrative that she's moving forward with or without him. And palace veterans believe Meghan knows exactly what she's doing. She's signaling narrative control. She's reminding everyone she can evolve while Harry hesitates. What's striking is how public perception has shifted in just a few years. Harry was once the rogue prince, the wild card, the most relatable royal of them all. But in the halls of Hollywood and the corridors of Buckingham Palace alike, he's now recast as something else entirely, a relic. A cautionary tale of what happens when you trade an ancient institution for the fickle applause of fame, only to discover that applause doesn't last. So, is this the beginning of Meghan's solo empire and the end of the Sussex duo? Has Prince Harry gone from rebel royal to forgotten man? Drop your thoughts below. Was Meghan's UK test of Harry a setup for independence? Or just a stumble in their shared narrative? Hit like if you made it this far, and subscribe for more deep dives into royal drama, celebrity strategy, and the fall and possible reinvention of Harry and Meghan.